Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where we've been dealing with a kind of Kraken-esque issue here. It's not really a full-on Kraken, it's just that these parts are moving around as we're warping. So let me just demonstrate that if you missed the last episode for whatever reason. So at this point you can see we come out of warp, and we're going to have a physics kick here, and every time we warp, these parts just move a little bit. They're actually not doing it now. But obviously they're not where they were originally supposed to be. And that was a big physics kick. Okay. So as you can tell, unbreakable joints and no crash damage is currently on. That's a clear physics bug right there. That's not supposed to be a thing. But I think one thing that we might need to do here, and I'm actually just going to load the last quick save here real quick, just because I don't love the position that we're in. So we're just going to open that back up here real quick, and that should be absolutely fine. But one thing I want to do is I want to strut together that big orange tank and the core base module. I was reading online that rerouting might be something that would help this situation, but that's extraordinarily complex to do, and I'd prefer to avoid it if possible. It's mostly a visual bug that we have here. Mostly. So at this point, what I want to do is I want to get some struts put in out over here and just get this joint strengthened up like we've done with these others. Then we can see about getting this thing installed, and that'll potentially be a whole thing. I'm not entirely sure how we're going to go about doing that one yet, to be honest. So what I want to do is I want to grab the strut that's right up over here, and as before, we're probably going to have to be quick, because when we are in Kerbal construction mode holding a part, things tend to fall through the world. Luckily, on this side, it's actually not that important. So we can just do something kind of like that, and then grab a strut out over here, and do something kind of like this. Okay, so that's now much more tightly together. So that's good. And in theory, that should do the trick. So now what we need to do is we need to get this hooked up out over here. So I want to swap over, and this is going to be potentially a lot of things. We have a lot of garbage on the ground right now, and I do want to get that all cleaned up. But eventually, we'll find the smelter module, which is what I want. Okay, smelter module. Perfect. So what I want to do now is I'm going to extend these out to just enough to where we have ground contact. So that's going to be like 0.1. I mean, I don't think that's lifting us off of the ground, but for now, that'll do. So we're going to extend these out to just barely being off the or rather on the ground. I don't know if that one's on the ground. It is. Okay. So 0.1 should do the trick for now. Assuming that that's going to lift us off the ground. We shall find out. I actually don't think it is, because we're currently eating up the shocks here. So what we need to do is we need to get this to be about here or so, about 0.3, just barely off the ground. So we're going to do that. And then the idea here is that we're going to redock over here. And we're going to attach this now the way we were originally planning to attach this. Even though it's in a partially disassembled state, that should be relatively fine. So we'll get this to 0.3 here, and then this one to 0.3. And finally, this one down to 0.3. That's 0.4. Hang on, 0.3. Okay. Now we can see we're a little high up. I want to set this as our target. And the question is... oh, brakes are on. Okay. This is our front end off over here. Gotcha. So we're going to need to turn this a little bit. And then we're going to need to start backing into here. But as we can see, this is at a bit of a wonky angle. The question is, will docking forces be enough? Oh, wow. Yes. Docking forces are enough. Significantly enough. There we go. We just docked up to it. Perfect. We got a bit of a physics kick there. That's not necessarily a surprise. So now what we need to do is we need to pull this thing forward. But as you can see, this is not exactly at the angle that I wanted it to be. So we're going to need to pull this forward a little bit. There is a little bit of debris here that I'd like to clear. Okay. Brakes back on. Now I'm going to release this. Okay. Now I'm going to drop this end only down. Like so. And we're going to set this as our target again. Pull away slightly. We don't seem to be able to pull away because this end... Oh, there we go. Yeah, pull away ever so slightly. With the idea being... the docking forces should be a thing again. However, we're pretty far off here. So what we need to do is we need to move forward and just turn this way a little bit. And then start moving backwards and turn the rest of the way. Approximately like that. Is this better? That's a pretty big physics kick. We'll let that settle. It's still not as good as I would like it to be in terms of its angling. Ideally, we would just build this here and then dock it up, but built parts appear to be having issues for us, right? So that is a significant problem at this point. But we can see it's at a little bit of an angle. Is that okay? Is the question we need to ask. I'm going to try this one more time. So I'm going to undock this here. We'll let it sit. We'll set as target. Then I'm going to pull out. And then very slightly back. Man, that really feels like that should be docked right now. If that was docked, this would be pretty much perfect. Unfortunately, it's just not quite docked. We're going to have to pull out. And we can try back one more time. That is so close. Man, if only that was docked. I would be delighted if that docked like this. We're not getting docking forces, though, I'm noticing. So I think we just need to get further away to trigger that. And then go in for it. Okay, how's that angling? That felt a lot better. That was a lot better. Okay, perfect. So now what we need to do is we need to get this back on the ground. So this is going to go to 0.3 and lift that end back up, ideally. Okay, now we need to back off a little bit. So we're going to, or rather go forward a little bit. We need to head up over here and just dock this in on this side. Yeah, I know that these guys are a little in the way here. We're just going to try to clear them. Okay. Now we're going to swing out over this direction a little bit. We're going to have to move this, but that's absolutely fine. Okay, I'm going to set this guy as our target, and I'm not sure where our control surface is. We'll control from here for right now. I'm not sure what that's doing to our turn angles. Okay. Noted. So that seems relatively fine. Just trying to angle us a lot better. We need to angle more than this. So we're going to have to take this from a different angle for sure. Let's go ahead and put the brakes on, and let's get Jeb to grab this guy and move it. Jeb is not able to move that in that mode. What about in Kerbal Construction mode? Can he do it in that? Maybe. Because that would be a little bit easier. So, wait, he can't do Kerbal Construction mode because he's not an engineer. Sure. So we're going to need to get Bill over here, and that's fine. Okay, Bill, over you come. I don't want him to break the radiator panels here. Actually, he shouldn't be able to because we have unbreakable joints and no crash damage on. So he should just bounce off of this in theory, but I would rather not test that, and we're just going to make our way off over here. At this point, we just need to get this out of here and out of the way. I want to move it one more time here. So we're going to move it up over this direction. And I'm just going to place that about here for now. We're going to need to move it again later, but that's fine. So that's the Duna core module. That's Jeb. Here's the Duna core module 3. Okay, perfect. So now what we need to do is we need to go, this is kind of backwards. It's really awkward at this moment, but we need to go this direction, and we need to turn. Oh, these wheels are turning in opposition to each other. Okay. So we need to have this be normal steering here and here. That explains why that felt really weird. Okay, so we're just trying to get in line out over here. Or very close to being in line. Okay, I'm overshooting this a little bit deliberately here. Because I want to change our overall trajectory slightly. Okay, let's bring it back-ish. No, actually, we still need to go over this way a little bit. Now we can bring it back-ish. Brakes on. Okay, so as you can see, we are at a bit of a jaunty angle here. There's no doubt about that. So we're going to need to travel forward and turn inverted directionality. Because we need to be further this direction. Come on, get turned. Do we need to add more turning capacity to this? Maybe. We could turn on turning in these wheels if we needed to. But I just want to get us further over. Okay, somewhere around here. Brakes on. Bringing it to a halt. Now we're going to reverse, and we want to angle the other direction to turn towards our target point. I think we still want to be further over this way, don't we? Because of our turning radius. But this is going to be a little bit better anyway. Yeah, we're still going to be at a bit of a jaunty angle. That's for sure. Okay, so we collided with it there, and I'm not expecting docking forces to be particularly major. We're not exactly as straight line as I would like here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to enable the steering here, and we will see if this steering... Why did that clear our target? Okay. Can I open this, please? Thank you. I'm enabling steering here because I want to have more steering power. So now let's see what we've got going on here in terms of steering direction. That actually looks good. Okay. So we're going to push our way out over this direction. I want to be a little further over this way. So we're going to move our main line out over here. Set this as target once more. And we're going to just make our way right on in. Ish. Right on in-ish. So it looks like I think we're off a little bit on the vertical direction. That's fine. Yeah. So we need to elevate this ever so slightly. I'm going to try 0.35 and 0.35. That just docked. Okay. Ooh, that's a huge physics kick. Yikes. That is an enormous physics kick. Are we going to Kraken out from the wheels over here? That's the next question. Obviously, that's not how physics works in reality, right? That is clearly a bug. Yeah, we are Krakening out over here. And it's going to land right on our Kerbals. Oh, that's incredible. I love it. So that's a bit of a problem. We do have some Krakening occurring here, but we should be able to fix that on this one by just raising our wheels up and just letting it sit on the tanks here. That should be reasonably fine. That's not a major concern on this one. We don't need to fully disassemble this, but our main problem now is we need to get our Kerbals out of here. And, I mean, the fact that they're under there is clearly a bug, right? There's no doubt about that. We could teleport them out if we have to. I want to... Oh, that's a bit of a Kraken. Hang on. I want to be at the Kerbals right now, but there's so much trash around here. This would be a great time to get the Kerbals out. Okay, now we get to Jeb just in time for this to have landed. Okay, Jeb. There's one solid way to do this. So at this point, we're just going to teleport him out. It's okay. We'll just set position out over here. Obviously, none of that physics is realistic and should not be a thing. Oh, this is moving him to Kerbin. Hang on. No, not Kerbin. No, don't put him on Kerbin. This should be on Duna. Okay. There we go. That's why it was taking so long to set his position. Okay. Yeah, this is fine. He can be on top. I don't mind that. Now, as far as Bill goes there, that's okay. We'll just leave him be for the moment. Come on, Jeb, get up. So the goal here... Okay, yeah, there's definitely some physics Krakening going on out over here. I'm not sure why these parts are currently levitating. That's exciting. Okay, let's get Bill, and we're going to do the same thing over here. We're just going to place him... use middle mouse click to set position. There we go. We're just going to place him right out over here. This is fine. So we're physics easing right now, and there's another physics kick there. No shockers there. What we need to do right now is we need to strut this together. Okay, this is all happening over here again. That's exciting. It looks like the parts were, like, landed on. We'll see about moving them and getting those fixed here in a moment. But what I want to do right now is I want to grab the strut connectors over here. And I'm just going to place them on the ground over here. We're going to have big physics issues for the moment. That's understood. Okay, There we go. Now what I want to do is I want to make this be a lot more stable. Okay, these are rolling away. Sure. I want to grab this, and I want to strut it from here to here. There we go. And then I want to strut this from here to here. That will add a lot of rigidity over here. So that's excellent. That'll even help this stay up because these don't fall through. So that'll be fantastic. Now, we don't have one of these on the other side. So for now, I'm just going to put this in over here. That is a temporary fix, though. Okay. So there we go. That is now installed. Let's go see if we can get some of these haunted parts out over here. So first things first, I'm going to grab this guy here. We need to get a little closer. Because I don't want to be sitting on any of these parts, and I want them to be just on the ground for now. So let's get that out of there. Excellent. And then we've got these levitating parts over here that I'm hoping that if we just grab them and put them on the ground, that'll reset them. It's the idea anyway. And this seems to be largely a visual issue, although I think that there is some physics issues involved with it, so there is that. I want to grab what we can up here. So yeah, these parts levitating is definitely not ideal. I'm just going to set this onto the ground here. And same thing here. Just going to set this here. Apparently the issue here is that these wheels moved, I think. So if we were to grab this out over here, this is going to be basically the same problem. And yes, I do see that this guy is having some issues. The parts clipped together at some point, and that's part of the issue, but this should be better anyway. Okay, so let's come out over here and see if we can tame the Kraken a little bit more. Kraken taming is definitely not my specialty, but sure. So we just need to get a little closer out over here. There. I'm going to place this down on the ground over here, although I don't love this connection here. Okay, that'll do. We'll grab another one and put it here. There's another. Wow, how many of those are right here? Apparently a lot. There's another one? Apparently so. I was starting to wonder if it was actually moving it, but it must have been. Can we not? Just go ahead and settle on down. Okay. I think it's settling. I think we've got that bit of krakening under control. So that should provide us some stability out over on this end and mean that we can kind of ignore what's going on here and hope that that just isn't a problem long term. Our smelter is now attached, and what that means is that we can have our Kerbals hop in, which we will, of course, be delighted to do. Okay, just get off over here, and then jump up, grab, and climb. And in we go. Okay. So now we need to get Jeb, and the question is, which direction is Jeb in? He should be right down here. Ooh, that's still a huge physics kick there. I was hoping that that would be taken care of, to be honest, by strutting these together like this. Apparently there's still some issues there. That's good to know. Jeb is here somewhere. Here he is. Okay. So let's go, Jeb. Let's go, Jeb. Oh, Jeb is doing this thing where he's landing in midair. This is a thing that Kerbals do sometimes. I don't know why. We're just going to sprint over this way, I guess. Lots and lots of bugs at this point. We've hit peak Kraken. Well, not really peak. We're starting to get the Kraken tamed a little bit, but we've definitely hit some Krakening. Okay, so we're just going to climb up over here, and Jeb is going to hop into the base. Cool. So now, in theory, we can start base operations. Yeah, I know the original plan was to have this be docked here. For the moment, I'm not concerned about that. We can move it later if we want to. For right now, I think it's fine where it's at. I'm not going to worry about it. So that seems okay. I do want to, let's see, that's metal ore storage. Here's the smelter control, or the smelter here. So let's go ahead and start the metal conversion and the scrap metal recycler. We're missing scrap metal at this moment. That's understood. And we do want to throttle these guys up. I'm assuming they're active. They should be. And we want to jettison this in very, very quick succession. And off it goes. Where it stops, I have no idea. But it'll keep going for a while. So that's absolutely fine for now, and we need to extend out these radiators at this point. So we'll get those going. And let's check in on this. So we're at 53.87% efficiency, but we can see we are now making some metal. So that looks perfect. I'm wondering if these guys are currently running. They're not. This is a metal ore drill, so we need to be doing... Just start surface harvester here on all of these. Of course, the water harvester has nothing to harvest, which we would expect. And we'll just need to start surface harvester here and start surface harvester here. Now, if we look at all of this, and we also got a world first milestone, oh, return home from the surface of Duna. Technically, we didn't do that, but whatever. This doesn't matter. That's completely okay. We'll do it eventually, probably. But as we can see right now, our electric charge is net negative at this moment. So that is, of course, slightly problematic. Our carbon dioxide should be very, very positive, though, and indeed it is. So what we need to do now is we need to make sure that we have a carbon scrubber that is active. And we have a water purifier that should be active as well, but that's not that big of a deal. That carbon extractor is operational, and we've got these air filters, of course, that are actually bringing us in water. So this carbon extractor is running. This one is not. We can start that going. And of course, we are cultivating here on our algae farm. And this farm is currently farming as well. Okay, perfect. So now that we have an infinite source of carbon dioxide, that means that we have an infinite source of oxygen, and we have an infinite source of water. Our main issue at this time is electric charge. We're net negative on our electric charge right now, and this power module is clearly not enough, but that's okay. It's enough to get us going. We can see we're building up our carbon dioxide very quickly. Very, very, very quickly. So that means that we can have this smelter off a fair amount of time. And that looks good. So we're getting this metal up, and that metal, of course, is going to need to be workshopped into rocket parts. But in order to do that, we're going to need to get that workshop component here. Also, I don't know where our wheels went. Is this our wheels? This that popped up over here? Maybe. If so, we detached them. I don't know. The Kraken is being weird. The Kraken is the Kraken. And that's all I have to say about it. Now, this over here should probably be elevated a little bit, but for the time being, this'll do. It's time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And next episode, we may think about bringing over our Foundry module We'll see. We may also elevate our tank module over there. That's also an option. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Dark Horse, Ethan Feldman, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, The Lounge SQL, Rornaz, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.